He's a community leader and he's been a Portlander for about like 35 years now. You'll also hear from student activist Sriram, right there. And you'll also hear from and you will hear from Minister Dishon Hardy. Minister Hardy, thank you. Yeah, and they made their time to come and address you all and talk about this. And with that, we'll get this started. So in between, we want to observe silence for 8 minutes 46 seconds and follow with the speeches and probably wind for the day. This today, right? This is the 18th straight day the protests are happening in Portland. Yeah, thank you. It is, and you are making this happen. Like, this is really, really significant, right? Rain or shine, right? Cloud or rain, whatever, right? 18th straight day the protests are happening here in Portland. Every nook and corner, right? People from all walks of life. I see toddlers here, a lot of the young ones out here. That's great. Senior citizens and anyone in between. Very happy to see the young ones out here, right? And they're wondering, a lot of students, why is this, right? Even, this is not even a matter to discuss, right? This is not something to debate. And they're looking at adults and, we are here, cutting a sorry figure, trying to get this message across to everyone. For us, for public, for the elected officials, for police, just about everyone. And again, for the 18th straight day, thank you for showing up. Most of us, right, most of you, like either you're sad, you're angry, you're upset, or if you're like me, it's all of the three, right, or even something more, and rightly so. And this is the thing that you want to channelize your energy and coming here, right, showing up and convert this into some really concrete action that I'm going to talk about, which has already happened in the last 3 weeks, and you will see it happening day in and day out, and I think this is going to continue. Folks who are just trickling in, there's a lot of space here. You can just move over to the other side, and you can actually use the steps to sit as well. The key thing out here, right, folks, there is only one thing that what we are here for, right? There are many things, there are many posters, all are right, all justified, but there is only one single cause, that what we are here, and you have made it loud and clear, right? There is only one thing, that we need to know the people in power, the elected officials, and especially the police, that Black Lives Matter. Say it with me, folks. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Louder. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Right. This is this moment. This is sort of a watershed moment in U.S. history. A lot of it which has happened. I think this is, at least for me, right? We have been seeing this, looking at television, looking at the feed that what we get, hearing from everyone, and at this point it has pushed all of us to the brink where we are saying enough is enough. Right? Say it out loud. Enough is enough.
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 Black Lives Matter.
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 Few of the folks, if you are blacks, if you are black, you are already living this, right? You know what it is. And if you are not, if you are like me, who is not a black, and I am here, we are here to listen. to educate ourselves, to listen from our blacks brothers and sisters, to educate ourselves, to understand and to support, and to say that I will never ever understand what it means to be a black in America, what it means to grow up black in America, but I'm gonna say, I stand with you. There are a lot of names, right? And it's a sad thing. The list is so long. If I were to call that out, probably will be here for, late into night. So many people who lost their lives for all the wrong reasons. I want to call out few of the names here, right? And then call my first speaker to address you all. When I call the name, just say it out loud. Say their name. I call out a name and you're gonna say their name. Eric Garner.
Say their name.
John Crawford III.
Say their name.
Michael Brown.
Say their name.
Dante Parker.
Say their name.
Michelle Casso.
Say their name.
Tanisha Anderson.
Say their name.
Alexia Christian.
Say their name.
Brendan Glenn.
Say their names.
Victor Manuel La Rosa.
Say their names.
Freddie Gray.
Say their names.
Salvador Ellswood.
Say their names.
Sandra Bland.
Say their name.
Billy Ray Davis.
Say their name.
Samuel DuBose.
Say their name.
Michael Savvy.
Say their name.
Christian Taylor.
Say their name.
Troy Robinson.
Say their name.
Gidu, I'm going to request if you can hold that poster out there. Out there to everyone. Lloyd Tony Stevenson.
Say their name.
Ahmad Arbery.
Say their name.
Breonna Taylor.
Say their name.
George Floyd.
Say their name.
Thank you. There are hundreds and thousands of names. We can be here all day and keep chanting. This is not going to end. I want to thank the Hillsboro Council to give us the permit and to give us the space to address you all. I want to thank the mayor. I know he is here supporting us, standing with us, and Steve Calloway, thank you. Thank you for coming. We have somebody probably down the road, police officer, Pace, she's there, helping this out, blocking this road. And a lot of other people out here, like my host Gidu Sriram. Out here. Also, I took a lot of help. A lot of kids who made these posters out here, pre-written posters. So they are doing their part, in this moment. I thank them. I have a few of the close friends, who worked this out, and we were working on this for last few days. I just want to quickly call out their names: Sudha Shivkumar Rammurthy, Chandrika Nimagada, Balaji Ramaswamy, Kirti Surya, Mini Sharma, and Ravinder Singh, and DJ Prashant. Thank you for coming. A quick note, right? At the start I said, why we need to protest, why we need to show up. A lot of folks saying, hey, what is that I can do? You're already doing it. Right? So that question should not be on your minds. You have done that. You have shown up here, you have walked to this place, right, on Sunday afternoon. on a weekend, on a Sunday afternoon, you're here and you're done your duty. Just by showing up, it means a lot. There are a lot of changes happening, or which has already happened across the globe. Right here, nationally in US, there is a Justice in Policing Act 2020, right, which is right now with the Congress. I know that is being trying to push and push it through, and that is basically for police reform bill, right? This is nationally here in US. Few more examples: Minneapolis, the 1 million school security contract, right? That's been abolished. Keep it safe for the kids. California, banning the chokeholds, right? The strangleholds, and also the budget, diverting the budget for the right causes, $150 million. This is in Los Angeles, right? Not to militarize the police, but for far better and more needed causes. Kansas City, right? Every police shooting will be reviewed by an external agency like FBI. So these things are all happening, and it's happening because we are talking, we are protesting, and we are showing up. Lexington, Kentucky, no knock warrant, that's gone, right? And they banned it, and they passed it 26-0. This was personal to me. Breonna Taylor, right? And I share the same birthday, June 5th. So if I'm celebrating my birthday last week, she should be celebrating that. But she isn't. Now look at Portland, right? Right here, I think this was day 5 or day 6 of the protest when it started, right? I said it's day 18 today. The city school superintendent, right? They removed the regular school safety officers. Keep it again, easy and open for students. The Portland City Council plans to vote again next week, again to divert the funds for the right cause, not just to militarize the police. And that should also be invested, and the ask is to put that into Black youth leadership development. So you have seen it in US, you have seen it in Portland, in different states, and right here in Hillsboro, right? So people are listening. The fact that on a Sunday afternoon we have Mayor Steve Calloway and his wife sitting here listening to us is a big thing. They are acting on it. This Tuesday at 6 p.m. is a meeting that any one of us can attend. Even prior to the meeting, you can send in your suggestions, you send in your asks. This is a council meeting specifically to discuss this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. to discuss what is right, what is to be done right for the community, from police procedures, police policies, completely relook into it. And the Chief of Police of Hillsboro, Jim Coleman, right, he is looking into it. And there is an initiative called 8 Can't Wait, right? There are 8 things that a police officer can do that potentially can decrease the fatalities, the deaths, and grievous injuries to the people that they are trying to arrest or anything like that. So by 70%, right? So that's quite a bit. So that's what we are talking about here. So things are happening, right? And it's happening across the board. Hillsboro is changing, so are the other communities out here. So with that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the first speaker, Gidu Sriram, and he's going to talk about living here, living in Portland through the lens of an Indian American.
Thank you, Madhu. Unfortunately, I don't have a strong voice like Madhu, so you have to put up with me a little bit. Can you hear me? Okay. So I'll try to speak louder. The George Floyd event had the same impact on me as September 11th event. Even though there is no comparison if you think of the number of lives lost, but the glory of the event was unbearable to watch it play out on TV. If a common man had committed a heinous crime like that, the bystanders would have either pounced on the criminal or would have called 911. And unfortunately, in this situation, in this case, both options were out because the crime was being committed by a police officer with 3 other police officers watching. So it was a really helpless situation. I've been in the US since 1984. In the last 36 years, I have met some of the finest people on this planet here. Really wonderful people. And I've also come across a handful of people with racist tendencies. Never thought big of it. My first real exposure to racism was in April of 1985 when a black man, Tony Stevenson, was choked by a police officer to death in a convenience store near my workplace. Ironically, it was near Martin Luther King Boulevard. At that time, it was called Union Avenue. And what makes this even uglier is soon after that, 2 police officers sold t-shirts with the slogan, "Don't choke him, smoke him." In other words, don't choke them, but shoot them. That's what they meant. And Bud Clark, the mayor at that time, fired the 2 police officers, only to be reinstated a few days later. We don't know, we will never know how many incidents like this would have happened. Since the introduction of cameras and the phones and the body cams and the police officers, we have been exposed to many, but I'm positive we have not seen them all. So we can take a simplistic view and just blame the police officers for the brutality against the blacks. But I believe that what we are witnessing are symptoms behind a cancerous, systemic injustice perpetrated towards the blacks. And sometimes symptoms serve a valuable purpose. You know, a cancer without symptoms could kill you. But with symptoms, you get a second chance, or you get a chance to fight the cancer. That is, if you act on it. So we will be doomed if we continue to ignore all the symptoms in front of us. So if I do some self-introspection on behalf of the Indian community, we have been standing on the sidelines for way too long, offering lip service over our dinner conversations in the comforts of our homes. And we should never forget that none of us would be even here in the United States but for the passing of the Immigration and Nationality Act in 1965, which was a direct result of the civil rights movement. So we owe it big time to the blacks. So it is time for us to come out of our comfort zone and participate in this fight, standing shoulder to shoulder with our black brothers and sisters. There are a few things we can do. I'll name 5 of them. First and foremost, educate yourselves on how the blacks have been treated. You can read history, or you can watch documentaries, and I strongly recommend watching 13, the number 13, 1-3 on Netflix. It's an eye-opening documentary. Number 2, let's get rid of some of our own biases. Each one of us have bias to varying degrees. So if you have children, young children or young adults at home, talk to them. They don't judge people the way we do. Children do not know racism until we teach them. So let's learn from our children. Number 3, get involved. Become a member of committee or board where you can influence this cause And if people come up with petitions that you support, sign them. Don't walk away from them as if they are soliciting something. Sign the petitions. Number 4, if you don't have the time to get involved, donate money. Make generous contributions to the various organizations that are fighting for the blacks. And number 5, last but not the least, and probably the easiest, is in every election that you get to vote, whether it is local school board or city, state, or national election, vote the racists out. Racism must not be tolerated in our elected representatives because we have the power to choose them. Who else can we blame if we elect such people? So don't elect racists. And in closing, on behalf of the entire Indian American community in Portland, I offer our full support to the black community, and we will stand with you in your fight against injustice. Thank you very much.
Hello. Testing. Hello. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Gidu. Totally agree. Right. As much as we both are here, speaking, the actual you really want to hear from, these two speakers. It means a lot, right? I know we are here on the sidelines, but they are on the field, right? Student activist Sriram, Minister Dishon Hardy. What we are going to do at this moment is that we are going to observe 8 minutes 46 seconds silence for those 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Just not that the time that the knee was on, George Floyd, right? Think all of it. This is this proverbial knee that's been on the necks of blacks for years, for decades and centuries. To show our respect, to show our support for this moment, I would request all of you to observe silence. Please feel free to sit, stand, right, kneel, lay down, whatever you think you are comfortable for those minutes and seconds. What I'm gonna do is, if I can request, if you can just look at the timer. Yeah, and you just let us know when the time is up, and then we'll follow with the speech from Sriram and Dishon. Thank you. Let's observe silence for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Thank you all. Thank you. I'm gonna now request Sriram to come over here, address you all. She just graduated high school, Westview High School, right here, in our neighborhood, the neck of our woods. And Sriram, it's you. The floor is yours.
Hello. Gonna be a little bit elementary school right now. Can everybody clap once if you can hear me? I like that. Well, my name is Sierra, and I'd first like to start off by saying that I appreciate every single one of you for participating today. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you are here to hear me. And before I start talking, because I don't really like, when I give speeches like this, I don't really like to write them out or script them. I much more appreciate a conversation. And so I'm gonna have a conversation with you all today. So before I do that, I'd like to ask a few things of you. I'd like to ask you to be open, because this and my life and the things that I will share with you are gonna be hard, especially those of you here with kiddos, and that's quite a few. This is gonna be difficult, so I'm asking you to be open, I'm asking you to be vulnerable, and I'm asking you to feel with me, because these are things that I have to do every day. So I'm asking you to make an honest and purposeful choice to do this, all right? All right. So, in the traditional Black fashion, when we try to teach people things, we are storytelling people. So I'm going to tell some stories. All right. The first time I was called the N-word, I was 3 years old. That was in preschool. It was by another little kid, my age. And when people found out that happened, they got very angry at this little kid, which I will talk about in a little bit. But my father, who is not Black, he is white, he pulled this kid aside and he said, "Now why did you say that?" And this child's response was, "That's just what we call Black people." I tell this story because it's important, especially those of you with children, that racism starts early, and anti-racism needs to start equally as early, because parents of Black children don't have choices. We have to start this early. I've had conversations about race since I've been able to talk. And you have to do the exact same thing with your children, regardless of their race, because anti-racism needs to start as early as racism. And racists start that teaching early. So your children need to be having these conversations like the conversations I have to have with my parents that I've been having since I was able to walk. Which means if your children are able to understand the difference between mean and nice, they are able to understand racism, and you need to be talking about it. All right? When I was 6 years old, that was the first time I was told by somebody that I couldn't play with their children because I was Black. I wasn't allowed to play with their children. I wasn't allowed to go to the birthday parties because of the color of my skin. When I was still in elementary school, I was called a mongrel. I was called an animal. I was called a dog. When my father was in his 20s was the first time that he was called a race traitor for falling in love with my mother. When I was 14, I was sitting in a coffee shop with my friend. 2 police officers walk in. They stare at me the entire time that they're in line to get coffee. They take their order, they sit down at a table right diagonal to me. The one that is facing me stares at me the entire time until his order is called. When he gets up to get it, the other police officer turns around to continue to stare at me. At this point, I get nervous, but I've had conversations with my parents about this since I was able to talk, so I knew what to do. I put my hands up and I put them on the table. My friend starts to notice that I'm nervous, and so he suggests that we leave. So we get up, I stand up, and at the same time, I grab my bag. With Black children and Black parents generally are taught not to do this. You stand up, then you grab something, because police like to get aggressive, and that's exactly what happened. So I stand up, I grab my bag, and I have 2 guns pointed at me. Both of them, unholstered, safety off, pointed in my face. I am 14 years old. All right. Because I'm a little bit of a smart aleck, I look this officer in the eye, I raise my hands, and I say, "Officer, do we have a problem?" And he says, "No." He never puts his gun back in his holster. He puts it on the table and he sits down, and I walk away. When I was 16 and I was just starting to drive, I get followed home by a police officer. I live in the cul-de-sac, so when I pull into my driveway, he parks horizontally so that I can't get out. He sat there for 45 minutes. I could not get out of my car. He sat there for 45 minutes. That happened 4 more times before I turned 18. That happened here. The officers who pulled their guns on me were members of the Hillsboro Police Bureau. That happened here. And I tell all of these stories because you have children, but this is what I have to go through every single day of my life. I am in danger because of my skin every single day of my life. And you know what? I see a lot of sad faces, but these are the good stories, and I'm going to tell you why. I went home. I got to go home. I got to see my parents that night. I got to go home those days. I got to go home. There are hundreds of black children, of black men and black women who cannot say the same thing. I am the best case scenario. My stories are the best case scenario. And I need other people to change that because I should be the worst case scenario, not the best. My experience is about as good as black parents can ask for. And that is the problem. And that is where we need other people to stand up. Because I cannot change the fact that that is the best case scenario for black children when they engage with police officers or with white people. I cannot change that, but you can, all right? And you can do that by doing a few things, and I'm gonna tell you this now, that I find that it's important, if you are not black, that you understand what your role is in every situation. And so it's about 2 steps. Stepping back and then stepping up. When we are in spaces like this, that is your time to step back. That is not your time to do anything other than hear and feel with me. Because you need to hear me. You need to listen to me, to my experiences and what I'm telling you I need. What black people are telling you that they need. That is not your time to give an opinion, because this statement on my shirt is not an opinion. This is not a political statement. This is a statement of fact. Black Lives Matter cannot be an opinion. It cannot be a political statement. And you and your actions determine whether or not I go home. Because that day in that coffee shop when 2 guns got pulled on me when I was 14, that was a full coffee shop. 45 people were in that shop. No one said a thing. Guns on a 14-year-old. No one said anything. All right? When you put yourselves in between black people and the aggressors, I get to go home. And that is what I am asking for. I am asking for a commitment. You need to commit to anti-racism every day, which means that passive racism, thank you, yes. Passive racism, sly comments, strange things that you know are wrong or feel wrong cannot be let go, because passive racism leads to active violence and it leads to the loss of black lives, which means you need to, when you are in your spaces, when you are in your homes, and when you are with your children, then you need to step up. We need to be having these conversations, and I need you to feel uncomfortable. I need you to be actively uncomfortable, upset, and angry, and talkative. I need you to communicate, because when you communicate and when you act, you save my life. All right? Today is day 18 of protests in Portland, but we've been at this for a couple hundred years now. So I'm gonna need y'all to buckle up, because this is a long ride and a long fight. So today you need to make a lifelong commitment to saving black lives. Woo! This means every day you hear us. You listen to us. You actively reach out to us to see what you need to be doing, and then you do it. And you are going to fail, and that is so crucial. Failure in anti-racism is so important, because you cannot grow unless you fail. You will be told that you are wrong. You will be told that you are doing something you are not supposed to be doing. And often that is met with discouragement, and it cannot be. Then you need to get even more angry, and you need to be better. All right? Because that is what we need. Because I'm out here, this skin is 24/7, so y'all need to be on the clock with me. All right? And I appreciate every single one of you for being out here right now. And I hope that from here on out, You're going to be out there with me also, and you're going to be having these conversations. You're going to be talking. You're going to be stepping back, listening to Black people, doing your research, getting out there. You're going to be learning. You're going to be growing. You're going to be improving. You're going to be failing, and you're going to be being better, and you're going to be saving Black lives. In between the aggressor and me needs to be you, or else I cannot go home. And I've been told that by my father since I was 3 years old, that you do everything you can to come home. That's it. That's the bare minimum, is that I walk back into my house, which means that you need to be doing everything you can to make sure I go home. You need to remember what you're fighting for. The other day when I was painting a mural downtown, I had the opportunity to meet Oscar Hunter's children. I don't know if you remember the Black man who was shot in his car by police in Vancouver last year, but that was Oscar Hunter. I got to meet his kids, and watching his children play around a mural of their dead father, you need to remember, you need to actively remember what you are fighting for, and that is Black lives, Black children, Black men and women, because they need to be the last ones, and in between them is you. So I'm asking for conversation. I'm asking you to step back and hear me. Then I'm asking you to step up and help me. And I'm asking you ultimately to save Black lives.
Thank you so much. Sriram. Yay! Yeah, it does. It's different when you hear it, right? Hear it raw, hear it from the person, right? And who's right there on the field, while the rest of us, are on the sidelines. I'm gonna now call upon Minister Dishon Hardy. Dishon, please come over. So he's a community leader, public speaker. He's fighting for this cause, many things, and he likes meeting people, loves to be involved, loves to be involved in the local community causes, and pretty big voice within the ministry, in the voice of ministry, here locally in Oregon and also within US. He's a proud father to 3 and a loving husband. Just recently in Happy Valley, Minister Dishon Hardy and his daughter, I think, she started off saying, hey, what should I do, right? And how can I help? And she just texted a few of her friends, put it on her Insta, right? And just looking around, and it just went, right, from one to a few other friends from school. I think she's still in high school, she's in college, yeah, right? Still in college. And lo and behold, on that day, 4,000 people turned up at Happy Valley, right? And if you Google the protest march in Happy Valley, led by Minister Dishon Hardy's daughter and him and his family, everybody lined up, just showed up there, right? And as I was talking to you at the start of this thing, just showing up, and that's what they did. They came to the rally, they marched, they sat here, they even on the way, on the sides, they just sat there and they showed up. It means a lot. So without much further ado, Minister Hardy.
Perfect. How's everybody doing? I'll take that as a yes. Take that as a yes. That's good. I wear a lot of different hats. Like you said, I'm a minister, I'm a pastor, I'm a public speaker. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Check it up, yeah. Can you hear me in the back? That's my cue right there, the guy with the blue shirt. That's it. That's who I like, yeah. And then the girl with the sweatshirt like mine, I just wore it because we wanted to be twins. That was it. Nice. No, but really, I wear a lot of different hats, a lot of different things that I do. From, like you said, from pastoring to preaching to public speaking to being a a father and all that kind of stuff, but when situations like this happen, I have to put all those hats to the side and just recognize and realize that I'm just a black man. Definitely a black man. And in these situations, it makes you really take a stop and really process things and take a look at yourself. I've never won when I travel the country speaking. I've never been one to write down speeches. I've always been very transparent, very open, and like Sierra said, have conversation. With some of these conversations and things I'm going to say might be uncomfortable. But an old gentleman once told me one day when I was speaking somewhere, he said, hey, if everywhere you go to speak, they cheer, they cheer, they cheer, they cheer, then maybe you're speaking the wrong message. He said, because sometimes when you speak, people have to feel convicted, people have to feel some sort of thought process, and not always just happiness, but you have to make people really have conversation and think. So if anything else, when I leave here today, I want to hope that you guys walk away with conversation, walk away with tough conversation and questions and things like that. All right? Let's jump into this. Thank you for the claps. I love it. I'm a preacher by heart, so claps are always wonderful. Always wonderful. The first time I'll kind of start like Sierra, because I thought that really meant something. The first time I got introduced to the word, and I'm gonna say it, nigger, because I can, and I want you to understand. I don't want to. I believe there's power in saying it and taking away power when you say it. The first time I got that word called for me, we grew up in a little community, and that's around a time when, I don't know if you guys remember, skinheads were around and all that good stuff. And I was outside playing. I was probably about maybe 3-4 years old playing outside. This guy comes by and he goes, "You're just a little nigger." I didn't even know what nigger meant. So I had to run in the house, ask my mother and say, "Hey, I just got called this word. What does that mean?" And the look on her face in that moment was priceless. But what I realized, the same look on her face that she had at that point is a lot of looks on a lot of black parents' faces when their kids come to them and have to ask what that word means. As life went on, I went through school, we lived in a community, and I was in middle school. And I was in the back of the class, and I never forget how I remember his name, a kid named Chris was sitting next to me. And we were writing, doing a project, and Chris looked at me and said, "Hey, you're a nigger." Now I've been taught what that word was because about 7th grade, so I said, wait a minute, you can't call me that. So I tried to do the right thing, I thought, and I ran to my teacher and said, "Hey, Miss Silverstein, Chris just called me a nigger." And Miss Silverstein looked me in my eyes and said, "You are." I was puzzled at that moment because I was in a classroom where I felt like someone that was there to protect me was no longer protecting me. So now I had to go home, tell my parents, "Listen, Chris called me a nigger." "Well, what did you do?" "Well, I told my teacher." "What did she do?" "She said I am one." The look on my parents' face. If you haven't grown up in a black household, you don't mess with black people's kids. It's one thing you don't do. And probably anybody's kids, but black households, they really protect their kids. So the next day, I noticed my mom was up getting dressed when I was getting dressed for school, and she was putting on a really nice outfit, getting dressed up like she was going to an event. And I said, "Mom, where are you going?" She goes, "I'm going to your school." I said, "Well, okay." She walked me to school. She sat in class with me the whole day. And at the end of class, when we were leaving, she said, "Step out the room real quick. I have to talk to Miss Silverstein." Let's just say I peeked through the window and all I saw was a lot of this, and a lot of this, and a lot of this. And Miss Silverstein was really red because she kind of knew that she had really messed up, and if she didn't, my mom let her know. Now, I say all that to say this. It's what we live. It's what I have lived. It's what Sierra has lived. Us as black people, this is something that we have lived not just now. The reason why George Floyd is so important now is not because it was George Floyd. It was an overspill of so many things that have happened. So many things have happened. So when you look on your news and you see people protesting and upset and going crazy, it's not just for George Floyd. God bless his soul. It should have never happened. But there was an overkill of this that's been happening years and years and years and years and years that is now busted like a pipe. Does that make sense? Yeah. Makes good sense. So with that, you look and you say, well, wow. I think now people are starting to say, well, we didn't know. I've heard a lot of this. I didn't know that was going on. Wow, why didn't we do something about this years ago? And I'm saying we have. But I'll give you this analogy. I'm a guy of analogies. I'll give you this analogy in how we've treated these deaths in the past. Say I live on a block, on the corner house on the block. And you right here at the camera, she lives right next door to me, and he lives right next door to her. Well, they come rob my house on Sunday at 3 a.m. They rob my house. Then on Tuesday at 3 a.m., they rob her house. Then on Thursday at 3 a.m., they rob his house. So now we all come together and we say, hey, man, my house got robbed Sunday. She's like, my house got robbed Tuesday. My house got robbed Thursday. 3 a.m. Yeah, 3 a.m., 3 a.m. I said, listen, this is what we're going to do. We know he's coming every other day, and he's coming at 3 a.m. So now on Saturday, we're going to get him. We're going to wait up 3 a.m. We know he's coming to the house, probably past his house, and we're going to catch him. So we wait up, and at 3 a.m., we're outside, and we're waiting, and we see this silhouette coming our way. And we're like, that's him. Here he comes. And as he gets closer, we all jump out and say, hey, you're the robber, you're the robber, you're the robber. And he takes off and he runs. And we look at each other, we slap each other high five, we did it. And then thought process kicks in and says, wait a minute, did we fix anything? No, because here's the catch. Either he's gonna come back here later, or he's going to somebody else's neighborhood to do the exact same thing. That's what's been happening with these deaths of black people. We have people die, we rally up, we say, this is terrible, we can't have this happening no more. It's on, we post. 3 weeks later, the new basketball game comes out or something happens and we forget all about it. And we've never, ever fixed the problem. If you're bleeding to death, you don't need a Band-Aid. If you're bleeding to death, you don't need a Band-Aid, you need help. And so when this happens, it takes more than just a black voice to stand up and do something about it. It takes everyone's voice. Because this is not just a black issue anymore, this is a humanity issue. I commend, as I pause right there, I commend and I commend everyone that's here, but I really want to commend the American Indian community. Thank you for what you guys have done. Thank you. Yes, give them. Thank you. I had a very epiphany moment when I got the phone call and had a wonderful conversation with these two gentlemen. And I got off the phone and my daughter said, who is that? And I said, it was two great gentlemen that are starting this rally out in Hillsboro. And I was like, isn't it so crazy how life can bring other people together for one cause? Other people together for one cause. When I lived in Happy Valley, where I live at now, and as he talked about, we did a rally, my daughter did a rally, and the rally ended up having 5,000 people. We shut down Sunnyside Road, we walked to City Hall, we spoke. Yeah, thank you, that's commendable by itself, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you why it's so commendable, because in Happy Valley, where I live, and I can talk about them, because I told them today I talked, we're so comfortable with living in our little homes, and our good homes and good jobs, so it doesn't affect everybody in Happy Valley. So to see 5,000 people come out and say, wait a minute, we know this is a problem in Happy Valley was huge. But here's the thing about Happy Valley. I moved to Happy Valley because as a kid, I didn't grow up with much. I grew up on Section 8. I grew up, on food stamps. I grew up poor. And I vowed when I got older, I wouldn't want my kids to have to face what I faced. So I worked hard and went to school and did all these things, and I moved to Happy Valley. And so one day I'm walking down the street with my family, and I got my daughter, she's riding her bike, and I'm doing what all the other neighbors do. Just enjoying the sun in the community, and we're walking down, and a car drives by, and they yell out, look at those niggers, look at those niggers. Here I am faced with the same problem that I was when I was a kid. And now, instead of me looking at my parent or what that word meant, I have my little daughter on her bike looking at me saying, Dad, what is that word? Dad, why do you look so upset? Dad, why are you enraged right now? Now, I'll be honest with you guys. Don't tell nobody. I don't think we have no police officers here. If they do, it's okay. I was really upset that I wanted to chase the car down, jump on the hood, snatch some things out of there. You guys probably been seeing that on TV a lot lately, right? With the riots and things going on. It's because of a frustration of why am I still dealing with this now? talk with my daughter and explain to her what was going on. That was a tough talk, and we went from there. As I close, I'll end with this. We always hear, we've all held, now, show of hands, who's heard this statement right here? When people say Black Lives Matter, somebody says, well, all lives matter. Who's heard that statement? Yeah, we hear it a lot. People say Black Lives Matter. Now, here's a key here. We didn't say Black Lives Matter more, right? Is that what it says? I think I see Black Lives Matter, It's not Black Lives Matter more, or Black Lives Matter the best, or Black Lives period. Those are not the statement. It's Black Lives Matter. I was given an analogy as I close with how that looks. And like I said, I'm a man of analogies. If my house catches on fire, some of you may have heard this. My house catches on fire, what do? Your house is on fire, what do? Call the fire department. So I call the fire department. My house is on fire. And they come out, they zoom out, and they start putting out the fire. They start putting out the fire, and then my neighbor comes out and goes, hey, what y'all doing? They said, oh, we're putting out a fire at his house, putting out a fire. Okay, but man, y'all just focusing on his house. What about my house? And the fireman says, well, your house is not on fire right now, so sir, we're focusing on this house because it's on fire. But my house matters. Yeah, sir, your house matters. Same exact thing. White lives matter. Indian lives matter. Hispanic lives matter. They all matter. But what the case is happening right now is Black lives are on fire. Our house is on fire. And so because our house is on fire, we're saying, wait, we're on fire. So yeah, everybody matters, but right now we're on fire and we need everybody's help. Does that make sense? I took that from somebody else, so if anybody asks you all lives matter, you can use it too, don't worry. Just give me my credit when you give it. No, but honestly, this is such a serious situation. As I stand here as a guy that's 6'3", 220 pounds, give or take, you would think that I'm a very strong individual, I can take care of myself. But I just was telling somebody, I just was at a church and I just got done speaking this morning before I came here, and somebody asked me, was I okay? And for one of the first times ever, I'm usually that guy that says, yeah, I'm fine. But in that moment, I had to look at them and say, no, I'm not okay. I'm drained. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what to do. And so this has to stop. We cannot no longer let this keep happening. One time I want everybody to say, this has to stop. 1, 2, 3.
This has to stop.
Yeah, that was okay. We was talking about we was going to Starbucks next. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3.
This has to stop.
This has to stop. This has to stop. The senseless killing of black people that are getting killed by our police officers, can't jog down the street, can't go into the store. These are things that I live. I can sit here all day, all night and tell you stories, personal stories of me being in restaurants and being discriminated against, me driving down the street, police officers, but we don't have that type of time. But what I think the message here is, if you leave with anything, I need you all to leave with this. You need to be the change. Say that with me.
I need to be the change.
One more time.
I need to be the change.
I need to be the change. So what does that look like? Educating yourself, as we said. One of the first things to do is don't just run out there gun-ho and do what you think we want to see happen. Educate yourself and say, wait a minute, why are they upset? Why are they fighting? Why are they mad? Have conversations with our kids. I think Sierra said it great. This doesn't just start. Sometimes this is bred into things, and conversations need to be had about what we need to do. Have these conversations, reach out and find ways. This is a great first step, but this is just a moment. This is just a moment right here. But what we need is a movement to happen so we can stop these things and keep our black lives safe and keep humanity safe. One time, Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Thank you so much.
Very nicely articulated. Pastor Dishon Hardy, ladies and gentlemen. I think, folks, we are coming to an end. I think we're just over 4 p.m. right now. Like, few more minutes, and we will disperse. I'm just thinking, like, I keep going to downtown, right in the waterfront, and looking at the protests and looking at the slogans. What started off on May 25th, right? George Floyd, right, and which is cascaded across, reminds me of what Reverend Martin Luther King said: "Injustice done anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So that's not the first one. That's not going to be the last one. And we all realize, and thank you all. That's the reason probably you're all here, and you showed up. One last thing, you know the drill. We get this going. Let's shout it out loud as you can, and go for it. Black Lives Matter.
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 No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No racist police.
No racist police.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No racist police.
No racist police.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No racist police.
No racist police.
Black Lives Matter.
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 Thank you all.